do your intro.
Hello, I am Candace Bohannon. I'm a specialist solutions architect at AWS working on the Q developer team. I'm also a core team member of AWS. She builds tech skills here in North America alongside Brittany, which is how we met, and we host shows together quite often. So glad to be here with you again, and we're back on Twitch. This is pretty exciting. After a year, two, something, we're back.
6 months. It
Feels like
feels
a
like
long
a light
time.
year.
Yeah.
Well, today we will have a very awesome show where we will go beyond the basics of code completion. Candace and I, we're going to show you more Candace than I. I'm the question person. She's definitely the builder person. How Q Developer has evolved into context awareness development partner that understands the entire project and can work across the full stack. So that is a lot of words, but we are going to get into what all those words mean. And as we do, I would love to know what your biggest pain point in development is as I pass the mic over to Candace.
Awesome. Yeah, super excited to be here and talk a little bit more about Q Developer. And just as we're kicking things off, what we're going to do is I'm going to pop into my VS Code, open up the CLI, and we're going to go through a bunch of things. We're going to build out a front end, add some new features, and then see it all working together. But Amazon Q Developer is a really neat little coding assistant that is really designed to be your intelligent development partner throughout the entire SDLC. So we're going to go beyond basic code completion tools and really understand the project context as a whole. So we're going to see some code generation, which is definitely a neat part of things. We're going to look at cross-technology understanding. So building the front end that goes with this simple back end that I built. Security awareness throughout the entire thing. It's ready for production. This code that Q builds is going to be ready for production, and some serious AWS intelligence built in here. So really excited to show you this demo.
And we have a pain point in the chat
Oh,
updating
good.
someone else's code and fixing bugs.
For real.
And that's an amen because I know there's so many of us that have had that issue and going through that different side of things. So that can be a big problem.
Absolutely. Coming into like a new code base is really hard. That's actually where I'm going to start us off is going into someone else's code. That's going to be one of the first things that I'm going to show you here. So I'm just going to jump in because I'm a visual learner and I'm already looking at my code. So what I have over here, looks like it's probably big enough, is a super simple little application. And we're going to be new to this application. So what we're going to do is open up a terminal. And we're hoping that it's going to work. There she is. Okay, so we're going to start up the Q CLI with this very simple Q chat command. I've already got the CLI installed. Of course, this is my day job. And we're just going to kind of jump in and start asking some questions about this code base so that Q can really help us understand what it is. So you'll see here when Amazon Q pops up, it tells us which model we are chatting with. So the CLI uses Claude behind the scenes. The IDE plugin, which I'm not going to show as much today, just because I super love the CLI. The IDE plugin could use various different models, but Claude is my favorite. And we can actually, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I thought we weren't supposed to have favorites, Candace.
Oh, I do. I have, and I can't help it. I have a favorite, and I have a favorite within Claude.
And I'm going to say, why is Claude your favorite and what one is your favorite specifically?
Oh, Claude, I think it's really feelings. This is not data. This is feelings for the record. I just feel like Claude gives really good responses. I like too that whenever you're working with Claude specifically, he says, I'm designed to be humble, honest, and something else. And I just think that's a very sweet approach. I also really like their play, Claude's play on or their stance, let's say, on responsible AI. So just overall, I just like Anthropic and what they're doing. So I don't know. I think those are feelings and some actual data. And then I like Claude 4 because it's the newest, and I'm a good nerd and I like to use the newest stuff. So
I will say the new is great, but 3.5 was still really solid for a long time.
True. I mean, oldies are goodies for a reason. There's classics for a reason. Well, today we're going to use Claude 4. We can also switch back and go to Claude 3, 5 if someone is interested in that too. We can go back and forth between these. What we're going to do is kind of dive into that question. The thing that the person said that they hated the most is just getting started in someone else's code and also fixing bugs. We're not going to do that right away. But when you use these coding assistants, you can just talk to it like a regular code, like your partner. I think of Q as the smartest, most enthusiastic intern you've ever had. He knows so much about all the things that you're trying to work, but you also have to watch his enthusiasm just a little bit. But I say that because I talk to him like a person. So tell me about this code base.
So I always think of this as we used to have coding mentors. So I think this is like that junior mentor mentee relationship when you're talking in the CLI specifically or with Q in general. It's a great way to just have that extra set of eyes without bugging the human.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's nice. It kind of frees up time for everybody. So what I did here, if you didn't see that command, I said, just tell me about this code base. What does it do? And what are the key pieces of the architecture? I have an architect title, so I like to know what is going on in here. And you can see Q kind of go through and look at these various different files as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Still going, just reading through some of the files, and you'll notice that it's here in our folder, our project folder. And so now Q can come back. I keep losing Brittany. Here you are. Okay. Technology.
You're losing me because my browser keeps crashing, but it's okay.
Fun. Okay. So here's Q has come back now and told us what this code base is doing. So you'll see this is a library management system. It's built with Spring Boot, and it just manages a little library media collection. Here's the key pieces of functionality that it has. Is it like the availability, search functionality, and then it has the layered architecture approach from like typical Spring Boot applications. So we've got a controller, service, repository, model, pretty typical. We also have a little about the technology stack, some more details here, and our database design. So this project, I use it for a lot of things actually. This is my day job. I show Q Developer all day, well, most of the day, almost every day. This is what I do. So I built this for a different thing. And this is what I have. I've built this to showcase some of the GitHub integration, Java, Q Developer working with Java, and those sorts of things. So we could go through and I could do my normal demo for you, but I wanted to take us a little bit deeper this time, actually. And what I want this to actually do is it does not have a front end yet. So we don't have a front end, but I would love to see it have a front end. So that's what we're going to do, is build out a front end so that we can actually explore this. And while we're doing that, while Q is doing that, I'd love to know from the audience, what do you think we should build? So you know a little bit about what the application includes today. Just think of it as a super simple library system. I'll build out the front end for it in just a second so you can see it all working. But be thinking about features that we should have Q add here for us. So this is all great. Okay, well, let's make a front end for this application. So we could do something super generic like that. I like to use Q to help me make the best decision though. So I could just do something generic like this and he'd go off and make something for me. But I want to know what are my options and give me pros and cons for each. So this way I can lean on what Q Developer already knows, and then he can give me these options that me as the real expert of this code can go through and decide what and how we're going to build this. I see a few comments coming in. Oh, someone is saying, okay, live petabytes, so he is a he. I go back and forth between he, she, it, and they. I think that Q can be whatever they want to be. So I'm open to suggestions on that 100%. If you ask Q what his pronouns are, he will tell you it's it, or just Q. So, side note. So here we have, well, I'll wait for my lovely co-host to come back. I think Chrome keeps crashing on her. Here was my prompt. Let's make a front end. What are the options? So first we could do a React front end, and it shows us here the pros and cons. It's very thorough. There's a huge ecosystem and community support. But the cons are it's a steeper learning curve if you're new to React. I am not a front end developer, so I've done some React development, but I'm not very good at it. So this one to me is out. We've got Vue here as another option, and it's a little bit smaller of an ecosystem compared to React, but it's not as steep of a learning curve, so that's great. Angular, I don't have to read about this because it says a very steep learning curve. I'm out. Vanilla JavaScript and HTML, CSS. This could be a good one to use, but as you can see here, it can become messy as it grows. So as far as like maintainability, I don't want to pick this one. Brittany, you're back. Hey, girl. Um,
I gave up
and
on my other browser and started a new one.
okay, well, welcome back. Um, and then there's this one about time leaf, which I also don't know much about. So let's see, what does he say? Less interactive user experience, not ideal for single page. Okay, given that this is a demo project just for showcasing some of these capabilities, Q is recommending React or vanilla JavaScript, and here are the reasons why. So I'm not doing React because that's too much, and we're only going to be together for 45 more minutes at the most. So we're going to go with the vanilla JavaScript, which surprisingly is not what I did this weekend for my run through. So we're going to see how this goes. Front end. And remember, this is a live demo. Don't mess up. Okay,
No pressure.
no
We're just
pressure.
pressuring Q a little bit.
That's right. There we go. Since this is a live demo, I'll make sure everything works smoothly and looks polished. We're off to a great start. So let's see. We're going to try again. Great. Okay, so now we're working on this. This looks better than before. You will see sometimes that we get failures like this yucky red letters. It makes you feel like everything is going wrong. It's not. Just try again. Usually things will get resolved. Sometimes changing your model is a good approach whenever those sorts of things happen.
And I always equate that to a space, a semicolon, or a comma or a parentheses missing. And when you normally take hours to look through the code to find those, that's the new hiccup, I would say, with coding now, is you may get that red lining, but you can fix it in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, quick up and enter. Easy peasy. So here we are creating out that front end structure that we're working on here. So this is just a very simple HTML page. So here's another thing about me is that I look at every single thing that Q suggests. I am not one that's going to go in and just trust all of it. We've heard the sayings like trust but verify. I just don't trust it unless I'm building something from scratch and it's not, I don't know. I have only trusted one time. I might do it in this call just because
Are we just
if
gonna try it? You're just gonna give it like the day one there?
the what'd you say?
We're gonna day one it. We're just gonna let it go.
Maybe this time I didn't. I don't feel comfortable with it. I am a yes or a no person. Like I want to look at every single thing, but if I start chatting too much, um, then I have to trust it and just let it go, and then we'll just see what happens.
My thing is, it's human in the loop. So I still feel like I need to review. Maybe
Yes.
it's not every single line, but the bulk of it,
Yeah.
because I think it's just that we know hallucinations happen. We should expect them so that it's like, how are you going to verify that it's not hallucinating or creating something that is not what you want? And
Exactly.
I think we're all still learning how to prompt the best way possible too. So that's another thing to consider and keep in mind.
Yes, for sure. Because sometimes if you say please, they react a little more nicely. Sometimes if you're more direct and specific, those tend to work better. But when you're starting with a generic idea, I like to say, give me options and let's work through this together.
Yeah. And I will say that I'm the more direct typer or to the computer or to the AI specifically, especially in Q. And I have found talking direct and asking Q to reduce its response by 25% sometimes because I don't want to read it all.
Yeah.
Or I'll
Yeah.
say, summarize that in one sentence.
Right. Like that was too wordy, buddy. Like,
Yep.
try again.
It's like, good try, but not good enough. Let's take it
Yeah.
to the next level. I've said that to Q too, and it does pretty well with that.
Yeah, it does take good feedback, I would say. Like if you're like make it shorter or I don't want to do it that way, they can it definitely takes some good feedback. I think my southern roots though, like I'm just overly friendly, I think. I say please a lot. I usually greet it. I'm like, "Hey, today we're going to do blah blah blah." I don't know why I do that.
We're the
Did,
opposite because I just say, Q, give me XYZ normally. So very different approaches, but we still come up with, I would say, good and similar outcomes.
yeah, for sure. So we went through, okay, good. So this is really nice. Again, I am not a front end developer. I haven't even developed Java in a really long time. So this is nice. What I really like that just happened here, Q made those few things for us. And then now
Mhm.
let's add cores configuration to ensure the front end can communicate with the back end properly. Thank you. I probably would have
Thinking
forgotten.
ahead. So,
Yes.
and this is the thing I think is interesting too, from coding in prior life to now, there were so many areas where you can make mistakes, you can skip the simplest things or forget things, where now with AI in the loop with the human, we can help predict and avoid some of those things. I can tell you, I have been one of those people that has sat there and had to review the code for 4+ hours trying to figure out what the heck I did wrong. And now I'm like, okay, I can do that in about 15 minutes with Q.
Yeah.
And it's more me asking questions and trying to figure out what is going on, and then Q telling me what's wrong or what can be optimized.
Yeah. It's helpful. It's helpful for learning and things too. So,
Yes.
all right. What is she doing now? What did we do? Okay, so we updated our cores stuff. Awesome. And then let's make sure we have sample data. This is so helpful. Oh, and now we started the Spring Boot application. So sometimes this happens. Okay, so when I need to do a command, I should have paid more attention. So what happened here is that we started up our Spring Boot application. I usually like to do that in another terminal so that I can let Q continue doing its thing. So what
Hmm.
I'm actually going to do here is stop this, and then what is that Maven command? And I'll put it in another terminal. This guy. So let's do this and this. And then I kind of forgot what port this will be on, but we can get that here in just 1 second. Okay. So go ahead and run, and we should see all the same things. No active profile, blah, 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 setting stuff up. Okay, but where does this on 8,000? 8080. Okay, so we're gonna go. Oh, you know what? I didn't share my screen so that I can show both of these to you, but I will. So I'm gonna start this up and then I will share my screen differently. Sweet, because you can't see this. Nope. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen just for 1 second and then I'm gonna share my whole screen. Stop the screen. I didn't think about this. See, Q could have helped me know that I needed to do this later and told me to do better, but because I was doing this myself, this is what happens. Anyways, So here is our application now working on just localhost, nothing too fancy. But we did not have, I promise you, nothing up my sleeves. We did not have a front end on this earlier. And now, in a few minutes, including my chats, like chattiness, we have something working here. So let's see if we have, I think this is what he put in it before. Do we have anything for Jane? Yes.
Ooh, a classic. That's what we
Yeah,
have for Jane.
that's right. It's so the data that they put in the database for me yesterday when I was running through this was all a bunch of classics. But you can see here that the book is available, and if we wanted to check it out, we could check it out.
With ID number 4.
That's what I'm looking for. Yes, I was like, how do I actually do this? And we're gonna pick a user ID 2. This is not super friendly right now, but this is what it is. 10 minutes, not a big deal. So we checked it out. It failed to fetch. This is great though. Um, Life Petabytes, is that who it was who was talking earlier about not wanting to fix bugs?
Yep.
We're gonna do this, and we're gonna tell Q to fix their own bugs. So, okay, the app runs, but throws an error. What did it say actually? Failed to fetch. Okay.
When checking out.
Fix it.
You didn't say please.
I didn't. Let's see how this goes. See, but he knows. Let's fix this quickly for your live demo. So, there we go. He's going to go and fix the cores issues, which are pretty annoying, right? Like cores issues, those can be so finicky and such a pain to fix.
Well, it also depends on how many sources you're using and different things that are all connected in there. So you're just adding more and more dependencies the more you add.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't know you, I can't tell you the last time I built an app and only had one singular dependency.
That rarely happens anymore. Even these simple ones.
Yes.
Sweet.
Right.
Okay, also a reminder, if you guys want to, I'm again, nothing up my sleeve. Happy to take suggestions for a new feature that we could build as well once we get this bug fixed.
Let's throw that in the chat. What's something you would add to this feature, functionality? Let's make this live. Let's make it fun. Tell us one thing you may be building that you would want to see in here. And when I say we, we're Candace and her CLI.
That's right. Me and Q.
I'll be the spokesperson for the chat.
All right. I'm just letting him
So,
do things.
is he doing what he needs to do?
I think so. Great. He's also creating a quick connection test to help debug.
Sweet. Looking around corners, which is what we like.
That's right. Also, I kind of like the way this looks. It's pretty simple, but like he kind of picked an icon here with a book. Easy enough.
It's very simplistic, where I feel like sometimes when we build from scratch, we may get a little bit over artistic in our design plans. At least I tend to get this huge big picture, and it's like, I want V1 to look like this. And in reality, I should have taken it like 10 steps back.
Yes.
And been more simplistic. So
agreed. Okay, so I'm kind of looking through to see what he actually fixed here. So now we have enhanced cores configuration. So that's really most of what he is doing here, is updating a lot of the core stuff. Switched from form encoded to query parameters, which is better for Spring Boot. I would have had to Google that. And also created this connection test helper. So restart your Spring Boot application. So we're gonna stop it here. And then we'll restart and refresh the browser page.
why that's refreshing, Cambo. What are the different colors in QCLI? Do you know? So I just recently learned this.
Oh, I don't know. Tell me. Tell us all.
Okay. So they're highlighting different elements from specifically the outputs. So it's easier to scan and understand. So it's supposed to be visual cues for your eyes, signaling warnings at error or representing different statuses and stages of what it's going through. Green is successful, yellow is a warning, and red is for errors. They're not all the colors that are available in the CLI, but it's to show you how it splits up. The purple is definitely the subheader or the header line. You'll see some blue in there, which are like key callouts. But I was recently researching this because I'm like, there has to be a color code somewhere to tell us what all these things mean. But it
Yes.
is really nice to be able to call those specific ones out because red, yellow, and green are going to be the most important errors, warnings, and successes.
There we go. Yeah, I've seen both purple and pink used here. Still have an error, buddy. Make it a sad face.
Oh no.
Oh no, live demos. What could go wrong?
Everything and anything. That's the fun part.
Yeah, like your browser. Um,
Oh, I like this question in the chat. So I'll give this over to you, Kimbo.
mhm.
Is he, and I'm going to quote he, is Q also able to summarize the changes that are made in the code? So I'm thinking this is a great idea. So for instance, you have a team that all works on it and you're trying to figure out what's changed in the code, either in your session or while you're on PTO.
Yeah.
Is that feature available?
So you can definitely ask it to. You'll see sometimes whenever he's made updates for me in this section right here, he said, "Okay, now here are the things that I did." What I would do, the way that I would approach this is I would set up a set of rules. We haven't even talked about rules yet, and it's one of my favorite things. Like not in real life, but with Q. I love the rules. Um, you could actually set that up so that as you're working alongside Q, you can check in code in small little pieces, and Q will actually create really good commit messages for you along the way. You can also use, once this gets done, I'll also show you just a little bit on how you can leverage context summarization and save and load that. Those are some cool things. But if you set that, if you want Q to always summarize the changes, make a rule for that. You'll see that he'll create some docs for us along the way sometimes. And those usually are like the implementation plan and the summary of what he did and those sorts of things.
I think that'd be awesome too, because there's a lot of different summaries that we do. We do technical summaries of changes, we do business feature functionality changes. Then you also have the marketing messaging. So it can be very important to have all three types of those and to start the role and have them start generating for you.
Yes, agreed. And you can also do that. So I use QCLI to build all of my demos. And I'm like, I'm going to do a demo for company XYZ. It's the directors or it's the developers. Tell them who we are building the demo for. And that also changes the language that he uses for the summaries and things throughout it as well.
You can also tell your level of skill too. So I have gone in and actually been like, I have not touched Java in 15 years. Can you please make sure that you're spelling out different changes or components that have changed over that time frame? That feature and functionality is awesome because code is now something that you can plug and play with what type you're using. And I feel like it's going to make it more universal now more than ever.
Absolutely. So using it as a learning tool is really nice. Yeah. As we were chatting, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Q said, actually, let me try something, a simpler approach to make sure that this works. So hopefully this is a simpler approach and hopefully it will actually work this time. And then we can take a new feature. I can come up with something, or Q can, or Brittany can. Someone can come up with something if we don't get something from the audience.
I always have ideas, you know me.
I know you, yes. Right. I think we've got the controller being updated. That's kind of the connector point. Oh, he's just doing each kind of like section of the code. So
This goes back to that section base that you were talking about. So it's pulling out each, what is it, 10 to 12 lines and going through each one.
yeah.
which is how we would do it anyway before we
Hmm.
had this type of tooling.
Absolutely. Okay. So here's that summary, right? So here's how Q has allegedly fixed the error. We can trust but verify here in just 1 second. So go
Could
ahead.
we, I was going to say, before we trust and verify, could we ask it to give us a 2-line VP business update? Could you write it in that format?
Yeah.
So I don't know about y'all, but sometimes it's hard to take the technical terminology and make it into a simple business update. So I tend to use our AI to help us with that.
VP. So make it focused on impact and to the point. And I will. Sweet. Oh, that's too long.
Oh, it's because you just did an update. So this is giving a full, like this would be a full root cause analysis type response. So if you ask again and just say, I need a 1 to 2 liner update I can give in Slack, that's kind of the the prompt I would use. But if I do need to write a full root cause analysis, this is a great way. If you scroll up, it actually goes through a summary, key impacts, and goes through like the resolution, which is all the things that are necessary for a good root cause analysis.
So it's helpful, and he has business impact in here. That's nice.
Yep.
But then here we go. Give me the summary in 1 to 2 lines that I can Slack to the VP. So front end is complete, full web interface delivered with search checkout, demo ready with all critical errors resolved. Let's see. I
If he
restarted.
is correct or not.
Yeah, let's see.
Are we going to go with Jane again?
Yeah, because I don't know what else is in my database. It failed again, buddy.
Do you need to relaunch the web browser? Maybe?
I don't know. I refreshed. Let's stop this and do it again.
Just in case.
Yeah. Turn it off and turn it back on. Okay. Stopped it.
And this is why we will always need humans in the loop. I do not think we will get to a point where we will be able to trust fully. So it's trust but verify. That's probably the biggest thing that I hear the most.
Yeah. Okay. So now Q is going through to look for a missing directory. I definitely restarted it this time. It was off. It is back. The issue might be that the app needs to be recompiled. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that.
So I will say, as you're going through that, you'll notice the completed in and how many seconds it is. This is a really cool feature that you can actually report to your leadership saying, hey, we're utilizing the QCLI. This is how much time it's saving us per activity or per rewrite or per change. And it's quantifiable data sets and data points that you can bring back. So you can ask Hugh at the end if you wanted to, how much time did you take total to do all of these changes, debug, etc., and it'll give you a compiled answer as well.
Super helpful for some of that like productivity metrics sort of things. Like people want to understand what is the value.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
in sprint planning too, it's really important
yeah.
to understand how much you can take on for a sprint. And with implementation like this, I know for me, it's 20 to 30% time increase that I have more time to do other things. So I am optimizing 20 to 30% of my time doing something. So now I can spend 20 to 30% of my time I've been focusing on learning. So the things that we always put to the weekends and the nights that we don't always get to do in the daytime.
That's right. I did this over the weekend. Okay, so probably the problem. No, it still isn't working. Start the
Do you have to do
application.
her first and last name? Is it case sensitive in search?
No, it wasn't before.
And this is where we argue a little bit. At least this is what I call it.
Yeah.
We're communicating the issue again.
Okay. Yes, check the logs. So again, helpful stuff because, oh, we
What
don't
if
have a
you,
log.
oh, I was going to say, what if you checked for like Charles Dickens or another classic author that could potentially be in there?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I could also ask Q what we put in there.
Mhm.
Let's see. So right now what's happening is Q is testing just the API itself separate from the front end. And the DTO classes have compilation errors. Let me quickly generate a simpler fix.
Awesome.
Actually,
And we have another question in the chat if you're ready too.
awesome. Can it start debugging and set breakpoints? So it could start debugging. I think it doesn't set the breakpoints, like it's not integrated that far, but it could start the debugging session and then tell you what line it's looking at, tell you what it's looking at, and then you're going to need to go through and kind of set those breakpoints. I also had a friend tell me that he had a race condition in his code one time and he couldn't quite figure out what was happening. And so he had Q create a diagram of what was happening so that then he could dive in and really understand what it is. So I think debugging and breakpoints is another one of those like paired programming sort of things.
And we got another question. Can it identify which line of code is failing specifically?
It can, like whenever you run the build commands and things like that, you know, it tells you where things are going wrong. And I think that is what Q is looking at to go back and figure out what needs to be fixed. Your IDE can also give you some indication as to what is failing. We can click all the way through here and find our errors, which appear to be at the bottom. And so it's, let's see what he's doing down here. We're going to keep letting him do this thing. Oh, good. So that's what Q did right there. He kind of identified the line where things were happening and was able to go through right there and fix that for us. He's
So
now
we went from red to yellow.
much better.
Yes.
Yellow is just some import problems. Oh, it just hasn't been used.
Oh, the dreaded red.
Not great. Sometimes Q will keep just trying. There we go. And sometimes you have to kind of kick them and push up and enter again. How are you doing on time?
So Candace, question about you and
Yeah.
learning QCLI. How
Yeah.
quickly were you able to adapt to your prior way of working into this new way of working? And any pointers for folks that are going through this? Because it is a big change, and I do think there are like it's overwhelming with how quick you can do some of this stuff, but it's also super, I don't know, I got super frustrated at the beginning, so I'm not sure if you had similar
Yeah.
experiences.
I would also say that it has changed so much as we go through, right? So I've been at AWS for almost 4 years and I was an account SA, which means I have to know a little bit about every single service. I became a specialist SA in March. The Q team grew quite a bit then. And so this is what I have learned since March. And the way that I've learned is actually we call him an LOL, that my boss's boss. He's set up time so that we have hacking sessions every single Friday, and they're team based. We're across the US, actually, someone in EMEA and someone in APJ as well. But we have dedicated time that is, it is our time to sit down and code with Q and build something. So we have a shared project list that people can work on. There are a few people who were on the team prior to March, but most of us joined in March. And those guys will be on the call too. And you can be like, hey, this is acting kind of strangely. Like, what do you think? So, again, it's another working with like people who've already done it, just trying it. You can't really know if you haven't gotten in there and actually tried it. So, it's really getting your hands dirty with it is what I would say.
Try,
Before
try again.
Can you fix those? So this one doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, really. I do think it's cool that you can do like the quick fix and you can either use the VS Code built-in sort of things, and sometimes you can also send it to Q to fix it for us. Yeah, let me check those errors.
So I'm curious in the chat, have you ever tried the QCLI? Give us a +1 in the chat if you have tried it. Maybe you're actively using it. Would love to know who is doing that. And then give us a 0. So if you are brand new, this is the first time you're even seeing the CLI demo, that kind of thing. So 0 if you're new, +1 if you've given it a try. And we'll go +2 if you've learned it from an expertise style. I think I'm still a +1 though, for sure. Oh, we got a 0. A couple zeros coming in.
Okay.
Awesome. So we have folks that are just now just seeing it, which is awesome for them to see this. I wish I would have had something like this where I could see somebody doing it in action versus going in and fumbling around my first time.
Yeah, it is kind of it's hard. Like you really need
Hmm.
that dedicated time. It's 3 hours on Fridays. So it's nice to just have that time and like dive in and all right, now it's going to be working
Yeah.
probably
I was
great.
going to say, I love that we're getting +1. Not sure how I feel about them. I am with you. There's some days where I'm like, this helps me so much. And then there are other days where I'm like, what are we doing here? How are we doing this? Is it
Yeah.
working for me or against me?
Um, okay, we are back up.
All
We're going to
right.
search for Jane. No pressure. Girl. Okay. This is embarrassing. Getting embarrassed.
So this is a prime example of demoing live and how this can make or break you sometimes. I
Hmm.
think both of us have been through this many times, though, that it's fine. And I'm pretty sure our audience here, we're getting some, we'll call it fun comments too. One of the comments is here, sometimes these tools are great, and sometimes they lead you in circles. And a hodgepodge of code that I've seen in reviews. I think we're getting the circle motion right now,
Yep.
but we're going through there. Oh, and there's another question. It looks like you're using a Mac. For Windows, what CLI would you prefer? GitHub, Docker?
Oh. So I love my Mac. I would recommend you get a Mac. But it doesn't, the QCLI, we do have an option for Windows. In fact, I will try to find that link when I'm not sharing, and I can send you the link, or maybe Brittany can find it and show you where you can go to kind of get started with these things. It works much better on the Mac. Um, and it's just a CLI tool that works like with Q. So you can run QCLI in a Docker container. That does work. You can also set up like a virtual machine and things like that. It's going to be a little bit better, but it does work in Windows. But it is better in a Mac. Also, to Mr. Pink's comment about taking you in circles, this is why vibe coding is bad. You should trust but verify. Like, don't just let it go crazy. Make sure that you're keeping an eye on it, which I'm not doing right now because I'm talking too much and I'm a little bit nervous because this isn't working. But you're supposed to watch it as it goes through and make sure that it's not doing crazy stuff. I saw someone's post like on LinkedIn or something, and they're like, I just spun up this application in 1 hour. Look at these glorious millions of lines of code, and I have no idea what it does. So keeping your tabs on what it's actually doing is definitely something that I would recommend doing.
I think it goes back to the importance of the trust but verify, but it also goes back to like coding 101, which was always reviewing the code that you're about to add to prior to.
Yeah.
I have seen in my career many times when people have really just they had featured their functionality to the code at the end. And there was a time where we were doing a 20,000 code line review, and it turned on and off a feature 16 times. 16 times. Because people were adding into the code and not going back and reviewing what was happening. So it's definitely something. Best practices are still going to be there. And one of those best practices is knowing what your code is doing and why it's doing it.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay. I like this person's. Thank you, Enobug. We're stuck in the not working stage. That's where we're at right now. But maybe not. You ready? Don't hold your breath. Ready? Okay.
This is part of life.
What did it tell me? Okay. Then click show all. This is good. Nope. Show
So
all did
type it.
not work.
Oh, it didn't work. Can you type in Jane first? Maybe it needs that.
I don't think it's going to work.
Hey, I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. Now hit show all for that, not search.
No.
Sorry. I was trying.
No, it doesn't work. Also, Mr. Pink, when do you say Q is drunk and look at the logs and debug what is happening yourself? If I wasn't on a live stream with 10 minutes left, that's what I would be doing right now. But instead, I'm sweating and just pushing yes, please try it. So.
And we do have the link up there. So if you want to take a peek at this link, it will help you with having the command line and getting Q for Developer ready to go. It does link to a couple different places of where you can get started, whether it is Mac, Linux, etc.
Yeah. We're definitely in hope-driven development.
Heck yes, we are. This is something.
Where we live.
I think the best part of this though too is this just shows what happens. It's not all kittens and rainbows. Is that the saying?
I think so.
There's still a rainstorm before this the rainbow comes up and shows up, so that's okay. And this is where we love live demos, but we also hate them.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some fun with it. This is why Candace is doing it instead of me, because I tend to be the more panicky one and have like the freak out. So
yeah, I pretend to be cool. I'm not feeling cool right now. Make sure it killed. Okay, definitely killed it. We are doing a clean run compile.
do you know what I think Q's doing?
Bulletproof. What?
I think Q is making it dramatic. So by the end of the stream, we get that final go ahead and it works. And then we're like, hurrah!
Nope.
What did it do?
I don't know. Not bulletproof.
There's a suggestion over here too. Maybe it needs an instruction that ensures that the data source is pointed to the data source
The database
link.
thing.
Yep.
We could try that. Errors in the build. Oops. Okay, after he's properly scolded and is going to go through and see what he can figure out, I'm going to show you a little bit about context windows and context management. We talked a little bit about that. Like I skimmed over it. But first I just want him. You're right. Let me check what's causing the build failure. Okay. So he's going to go through, figure this out, I hope. And let me try to fix this quickly. Yeah, we're over our whatever minutes I said we had. Oops, not over there. Here's where I need my Y. Okay. Okay, actually, let me take a simpler approach. Yeah, dude, pick the simpler approach every time. I'm not developing for production. We could have production ready code here, but I, in general, just follow the KISS method, like keep it as simple as possible. And so when I create rules for Q, that is a thing that I almost always tell it to do. Maven clean compile. Okay, let's see if this works. But I tell it, I create rules often, and I will tell it to do things as simply as possible, check in your code with every little bit, and have good commit messages and things like that. Okay, so this is back.
All right, let's get a drum roll in this in the
Yeah,
channel. Who's on Twitch with drum rolls?
it's all,
Oh,
she's making me mad. Gatsby, I think, was one too. All failed. Okay, we're gonna cancel this. Um,
this is when I would tell Q, get it together.
for real.
Where you're being nice still and doing like the sad face. I'd be like, I'm over it. Fix it, simplify it, and let's launch.
Figure this out, please. Don't panic. Did you see him tell me don't panic?
Yep.
Friend, just get this working.
So this is where Claude is empathetic.
Yeah.
There's some empathy here, which is nice. But you can also see the completed time is going up in seconds a little bit, because the more you're adding, the more you may see in a timing standpoint of completion. So just a call out there for sure.
And that has to do with the context window. I keep getting distracted because I am panicking. And so I'm going to show you the context window. I promise. Brittany, do not let me do anything else except for push some Ys and build it. And then I'm going to show context. Okay.
Okay, chat and I will keep you accountable to that
Thank you.
in the 8 minutes we have left.
Whew. I'm not sweaty. I'm fine.
An hour goes by way too quick for these. I feel like we need 90 minutes when anytime we're live demoing.
Yeah. He says, okay, okay. We're going to try this. David Spring dash boot. Oops. Run. Okay. He's going to start. I want to show you context windows. Okay. So I like this one better. Usage. So
I was going to say there's a prettier one.
Yeah, I like this one better. What we can see here is our context window. So right now we've got 47,000 of our 200,000 tokens that are saved so far. And most of it is Q's response, followed closely by my prompts here. You'll see too that we can add files specifically to the context. So rules files are always part of your global context. So that is a thing that's always in there. And when I put context/show above, you can see these are always in your global context. So your rules files, README, and Amazon Q. And then if you tell it anything specifically too, you can specifically add to your context.
So this is where prompting is extremely important, because even when you're interacting with the Q CLI, you should make sure that the directness can work pretty well. And then also just when Q is responding, you can prompt Q in the beginning, hey, make sure your answers are short and sweet, depending on how complex the case that you are working on is.
It didn't work.
It's testing our patience today, just like my browser was testing my patience on joining this stream.
I thought it was a me problem the first time you disappeared, and I was like, what? Where'd my friend go?
No, so at this point, I would love to give a shout out to some of our folks in the back end who are helping us. We have some people on chat mod. We have people helping us with the streaming and just the overall run of show, which has been awesome. They have been troopers, but they too were also experiencing some Chrome issues. So we were having some fun where it kept kicking us out. But browsers are browsers. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Just like technology.
Just like
so. Sometimes it loves us, and sometimes it really tests our patience, especially on a Monday.
Oh, this is funny. I can't. Did you see that? Q is also flabbergasted.
Oh no, we need to go back to that. Yeah, the sarcasm's coming out.
Oh my gosh. Even the hard-coded controller is failing.
Okay, Q, get it together.
Please, come on. Where are we at for time? We're getting close to time.
We are. But you did get to show one of the features with usage, which is one of my favorite features, being able to see that visual of where we're at.
It's really cool. And Q also will give you like a warning when you're getting close to it. Actually, when you go over it, it'll tell you, hey, you're running low on context window. You might want to use /compact to summarize that, which is a really cool feature. It cuts it by like a lot, 90% or something. Look, Q talks like I talk. I feel like he kind of picks up on language type of talking. So found it with exclamation mark. So anyways, we're going to see if we can get this to work in like 3 minutes because I think they yell at us if we go over. So
yeah, we're not going to go over because they'll be pulling us out. All right, there is a question. Does it have a voice?
No, and I think it would be very neat if it did have a voice. One of my friends here at AWS is visually impaired, and so he uses screen readers and things like that. And Q is not super simple for him to use because it doesn't work as well with those screen readers. So it'd be very nice if we integrated some poly on top of there. Let's see.
I think that might need to be a feature add. Who knows when that will come, though?
Yeah.
There's lots of features coming every day.
So many things.
Right.
Failing. Okay, go fast, go fast.
We'll see what happens.
Maven.
We're in a 2-minute stretch. And if anything, you always fail forward, and it's a two-way door decision. So we could always roll back and go again.
D skip tests. Okay.
Right.
All right. We're going. Should be not there. Nope. Got an arrow. An error. Well, I think this was. Oh, we still have a minute or two. Whenever.
We'll give it one more try.
Okay.
Before we get kicked off stage.
That's right. Fair to execute goal. I should have told him that. Okay. Oh, look. If I just read it myself, I could also just figure this out. Oh, let me fix it quickly. Well, as he's maybe fixing this, I feel like we should start to say goodbye because we might get cut. We'll be back though every week, same time, same place. We also have a channel on YouTube where you can see some of our older episodes. We'll be reposting this on YouTube at some point.
And then feel free, if you are not able to join a session like this, we do have the podcasting, so you can check out the podcasting and be able to see it. I should say see it. You can hear it and listen to it and go through it that way as well. I do want to let the folks know we do have a cool series kicking off on Wednesday if you would like to join Trevor, Spiral, and I, where we are going through talking about new things launching in AI for the next few weeks. So you may see me on Mondays or you may see me on Wednesdays, depending on the day of the week and what sessions we're going through. But wanted to mention that we do have that show on this Wednesday. And that will be at 5 p.m. EST. And it is the AWS Innovations AI Pulse. So this week, I can tell you there might be some strands talks. So we might be able to get into a totally different thing than what we're doing here. Maybe even some MCP.
Ooh, fun.
So I'm throwing some acronyms out there because if you don't know them, you should join us to find out what they are.
That's right. Last little thing, Q is very apologetic. This issue is entirely with the backend and the database. So the person who said maybe tell it exactly what to connect to, maybe that was the right thing to do. I can tell you this worked yesterday, and I'll get it right next time. So thanks everyone for watching this struggle. I think it was fun and terrible, but it was fun. And hopefully we see you again next week.
See y'all.
Bye. Okay, welcome back. It's now the end of the day for me, but this really was bothering me that I couldn't get that demo to work. So I went ahead and re-recorded it, as you can see here. So I just wanted to show you that it does in fact work. I just needed like 8 more minutes and I could have made it work in the live demo. But I kind of told Q, let's go ahead and make this work. And so Q is now removing those problematic files. Allegedly another bulletproof solution. We'll see how that works out. There was the front end that was not working, so I went ahead and closed out that local host. And now you're going to see Q going through and removing those test files that were causing the issue. As he goes through here, he starts to figure out the super simple guaranteed to work controller. I kind of like this part because what Q is going to do is go through and try to just fix it the best that he can. I gave him a lot of sass about this is a live demo. I made sad faces and things like that. So you'll see here that he's created some new code, which I believe I accept here. And then what we're gonna see is, he's actually trying to just take code out. And I'm like, no. What are you actually doing here? So that's what's just about to happen right here. So he's trying to go through and disable all of the database stuff. And I'm like, no, that's not a real application. It would be quite fake. So as we go through and I realize what he's doing, I'm like, no. And I kind of tell him, this is not what I want to see. So again, directing him towards the outcome that I want to see. So why are we disabling the database stuff? That's not what I want, Q. So now he's going to go through and make an apology. And of course, he's going to make an apology and go ahead and work on the problem, the actual core problem. So no, I want to make it work for real. That's what we see here. And so then he goes through and is going to make it work for real rather than this fake database sort of thing. That would be embarrassing. So of course, you're absolutely right. Let's make it work. And now he goes through and you'll see that it really wasn't that much harder of a fix either. So this would be one of those things that we could put into the rules file. Don't do Band-Aid type fixes. I want you to fix it for real. This needs to be a fully functioning, ready to deploy application. Those would be great things to put into your rules files just to make sure Q doesn't take any shortcuts, because as we all know as developers, there are trade-offs between fast and good sometimes. And with this interaction that I've had with Q, I was definitely pushing him more on the fast than the good. So now he's to the point where he undid some of that make it fake work, and now we're getting closer to having this real demo. So we're going to scroll up there and see the updates that he's made to these couple of classes. There were some issues as he went through and made some of these changes, but those all get resolved as we go through here as well. I like to have the files open so that I can see those red lines show up as errors are potentially introduced. You'll see here now he's updating the repository level layer of the application. And fast forward. Fast forward a little more. Okay, so now he's going to create that proper service for us. So with that, he's created some of these files that are actually going to work. We're about halfway through this revised part of the demo now. Again, creating the proper controller because I wanted it to work for real. Let's see, what else can we get? Again, just kind of updating these files. So I could have done this live if I had just slowed down for just a couple minutes. But it's kind of nerve-wracking when you're doing this in real life on a live demo, streaming, recorded for everyone, for all of history, I guess, for some of history. So once Q has gone through and actually updated all of those files to make it work for real, he gives a nice update and explanation of all of the things that he did to make it actually work. So you'll see those key fixes, including removing the inheritance complexity, which was an issue we saw in the live part, a clean separation of concerns by having the controller, service, and repository layers, which we had before, and then those transactional operations. But you can see now that it actually works. So you can see that I was able to do the show all of the entries and they all came back, woo. And we can also check out an item. So you'll see here that I was able to put the information in there, not in the most user-friendly way. So if we were going to continue this, I would make it more user-friendly to use strings instead of IDs. But the whole point is it works. So I feel better. As a technologist on the deep down, I'm definitely a builder. That really bothered me that I couldn't get it to work earlier today, and I know Q can do this. We did it over the weekend as well with a slightly different approach, and it worked. And now I was able to show you that it does in fact work. So thank you so much for continuing to watch this. I know it was a long episode, but I had to show you Q can do the thing if you give him enough direction and enough time. So with that, it's the real end of the show. We hope to see you live on Twitch again next week. We will be live on Mondays through the summer. We'll at 9:30 Pacific time. And I hope that you also like and subscribe here to our YouTube channel for all of our episodes, whether they're on Twitch or not. So thanks so much for watching. See you again next time.